questions? No, I don't know the square root of gazillion. Yes, sir.
How long have you been writing?
Taking it seriously since the kids said, what if you die first? When I said I'm going to write these books when I retire, that would have been about 2002. And it really kind of was a long process of writing the first book and then not knowing what to do with it. So I started writing the second book.
Did you write the first one?
No, the first book actually is pretty much a complete story in itself. There's a few plot lines that are not completely tied up. There's an introduction of the great evil at the end that foreshadows what's coming in books 2 and 3 and 4. But the first book is really about this teenage kid who sees himself as a loser, and basically all this is thrust upon him, and he starts to see that maybe he's not quite as screwed up as everybody's been telling him for years.
Do you do your own artwork here?
I do all my own artwork.
Okay.
And that actually,
cover too?
huh?
The cover too?
Did the cover, and it's really funny because what I do, because I teach art, is I usually do about 4 or 5. Well, I do about 12 pre-sketches, kind of little better than pre-sketches. Take them in, and then we sit down with my class and we discuss which ones suck and which ones are, eye-catching. And it was really funny because for the second book, it literally was a backwards flip of going the other direction of that image that everybody's like, this is great. And I'm like, you know what, it just dawned on me, that's the first book cover in reverse. There's no way we can do that. So I was kind of bummed out. But then after that, I do up about five really decent ones, and I bring them in, and I let the kids vote.
Do you have any, obviously there's no pictures in the knot.
Oh yeah, no, there is.
Oh, there are?
Yeah, here, take a look.
That's great.
What I try to do is put in a spot illustration at the beginning of each chapter,
Right.
then a full page illustration.
You see, I like this stuff. Just a
Yeah.
little something to get the mind.
Yeah, my students, I teach cartooning and animation as well as drawing and painting. And when it first got published 2 years ago, I brought it in. I had a bunch of kids who were psyched. They're buying books, and about 3 of my kids came up and they're like, "It's not a comic book?" And I'm like, "No, there's actual, paragraphs and things."
Right.
We hoped it was a comic book.
Had you ever thought about doing a comic book?
I have so much respect for comic book artists that I just, people like Jack Kirby, John Byrne, Wendy Penny, any of them, especially the old school guys who would have to do 3 comics a month to make rent.
Right.
I mean, that's 90 pages.
Right,
I
it's a lot
can't-
of work.
Yeah,
The quality is really up.
Oh yeah, I was lucky enough to go to a art museum. I was actually up in Milwaukee where they had the comic book display, and I'm looking at these huge panels done by Jack Kirby, and I'm like, he had to do at least 3 of these 2-page spreads a day to stay on track.
Right.
And I'm like, how can you do that? I mean, I
These
can't.
guys that's the high end, man.
Yeah. No, they are unbelievable.
Publishing, did you have a hard time finding anyone to pick it up, or did you go to a private?
Well, what I ended up doing is I went through the Complete Writer's Guide, and in the Complete Writer's Guide of places that you can go to publish, there's only like 15 for science fiction.
Right.
8 of them you have to have an agent,
Okay.
and then 7 you can send in. One of them, and I can't remember which one, maybe it was I don't want to say names in case I'm wrong. One of them's like, give us a year and a month, and we'll see it, and if we like it, great, and we'll send it back to you. So I literally spent a year doing illustrations for book 2, or starting the pre-sketches for book 2, waiting to hear from a publisher. And luckily, the guy who I've played in bands with for 25 years is also the writer of the Encyclopedia of the Harmonica that Mel Bay published, and nobody wanted to touch that one. He wrote it either.
Really?
Yeah, no, they were like, no, who's going to buy this? Well, harmonica players. And
Yeah,
that's
right,
it.
right.
That is a very specific target audience, and
Sure.
he knew how to reach them.
Right.
So he printed up like 5,000 copies on his own,
Yeah.
sold them all within 3 months,
Wow.
and then went to Mel Bay and went, hey, I sold these in 3 months, and they were like, phenomenal, we'll buy this off of you.
Right.
And that's basically how a lot of writers are breaking in today, is they're independently publishing it themselves, selling as many copies as they can, and you know, then going to bigger publishers with that information. I kind of want to be rather proactive than sitting around going, oh man, if I could just win the lotto.
Right. So you get out and do those things. Have you found that the internet has brought you any real success, or is it just sort of a medium that's...
It's an incredibly handy medium for if I run into somebody. You know, if I'm talking about, I'm like, here's a card.
Right.
Go to my website, check it out. Or, you know, with the fact that I have like because the highest number of books I've sold has been in Elgin, and I've done really well in my hometown. But we're talking, you know, 6 different years of students cycling in and out and telling their brothers and sisters and their friends about this book. So I mean, the real harder part is trying to get beyond that area.
Right, to get your demographics bigger.
Yeah, because I do great at this high school, but you know.
Now, as far as cons go, do you have your sights on anything else big you want to go and do? In the area?
Cons have been kind of really hit or miss. It's one of these deals where you go for a book signing, and absolutely, you know, the website has brought in some people, but most people don't know me. So I sit there at a table for an hour, and then people walk up and they go, you say, hey, you know, this is a book about a kid with attention deficit disorder who gets the ability to travel time, space, and alternate realities. And before he will turn 17, the entire world will be destroyed, and he's the only one that can save it. You know, and he can't pass a math class. So you give him this 17-second spiel,
right?
And you get, I was in the Air Force for 35 years, and you go, and you're going to tell me about all 35 of them, aren't you? Year 1. And so, you know, it's not that I... Have you met a few of those? Yeah.
So you end up interviewing your audience more than interviewing you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And you know, it's nothing against that. I would love to sit down and talk to those people. But it's kind of like, you know, just give me an hour to sit here, and if nobody comes up or doesn't want to hear about it, then yeah, we'll go off, we'll have a drink, we'll chat. You know?
Right.
Phenomenal.
So you have a forum to keep, and
yeah, and it's funny because I don't mind discussing the book with people. I don't mind discussing writing or art or anything. But you know, just wait till I'm off the clock, and then we can talk about, you know, postpartum depression or whatever it is that you want to tell me about.
What about your influences that got you really thinking that you had a story to tell?
You know, it's really strange because it really was that one kid who looked at me after I'd been showing him all the drawings, because I started creating these ideas in 7th grade.
Okay.
I mean, which has really been helpful because when I got into college and I was taking creative writing, I would write like chapter 1, chapter 78, chapter 1,000,002. There wasn't a sequential link to them.
But it followed you, and it was something you kept in your mind as a
right. You know, it was my safe place to go when things get boring. And being an attention deficit kid, you know, sitting in traffic kills me. You know,
so that could be a chapter right there.
Yeah, and I can't necessarily pull out the pencil and start drawing in traffic because, well, my wife will yell at me. Right. But you know, not that I haven't tried it. But you know, it's one of those deals that for, you know, I'm 44 now, since 7th grade, which, you know, is 12. I've been 32 years thinking about this.
Sure.
You know, so when I started to write it, I literally thought the first 4 books were going to be one book. And then I got 300 pages in, I was like, oh my God, I'm nowhere near the story.
Right.
That's
not a bad thing.
No, it was
really a good thing. Some people suffer for, you know, they're dried up after they they don't know how to keep it fresh.
Sure.
Give the audience a bigger, fuller experience.
Yeah, and that was the exciting thing for me because it wasn't written sequentially. I was like, you know, I know he's got to go from point A to point C, but what is B?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're inventing characters. Like, I have students who are like, you got to put me in the book. You got to put me in the book. And they're really annoying. So I'll stick them in the book and they'll get horribly killed. And they're like, oh, dude, I lose my arm. This is hard. You know, or mangled or whatever. But then, you know, you end up as you're adding characters because you realize you need more characters. It can't just all be dude in a room.
Right.
And bad guy comes in and they fight. That you end up creating characters that you had no idea that you would ever use or would ever existed.
Right.
So I mean that's what was really fun for me.
Do you use any local or regional references, or is it so much immersed in this newer time-based existence that that's irrelevant.
What's interesting is he leaves 1985.
Okay.
So this literally is going back to when I was in high school, and
So you know the music styles,
the music
clothing,
styles, the
what
clothing,
foods existed and didn't exist.
sure, you know, the
exactly.
fact that the Walkman was the coolest thing.
It was
had.
$100.
Yeah, exactly, instead of a CD player.
Right.
So I mean, he's mentally coming from that too. That when he gets into the gateway and create whatever he wants.
May I assist you with that?
I want a record collection. I want the world's greatest record.
Right. That was a big deal to have, and
Yeah.
a couple good T-shirts and
Yeah.
some black lights, right?
Exactly, you know. So
It's good to meet you.
yeah, what's your name?
Joseph.
Joseph Tim.
I'm running the campaign.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, hey, thank you very much.
Sure,
and,
man.
you know, if
I
you get a
enjoyed the
chance,
reading.
Hey, www.alifetimeintime.com. Have a great convention, everybody. See you later.